Where are you supposed to be? Where are you not supposed to be? I'm not supposed to be here. I'm a judge. Judges don't do TED Talks. I've been a judge now for 2 years. When I was appointed in 2017, the Oregonian ran a story, big headlines. 93% of Oregon judges are white. I'm one of a few minority judges on the bench, but I wasn't supposed to be a judge. I applied 3 times and I failed each time. The first time I applied, people said, "You're too young." I applied 2 years later, and people said, "You're still too young." I applied a 3rd time, and I gave up. I thought, this isn't for me. I'm not going to apply again. And at the time, I was working at the Oregon Department of Justice for the child advocacy section. I was very happy with my job, so I thought, this really isn't for me. I wasn't meant to be a judge. There was a 4th vacancy, and I knew I wasn't going to apply for it. But I had lunch with a judge, and she said to me, "Being a judge is a calling. You will know if it's your calling." Then the funny thing happened. I got a call from the governor's office asking me to apply for that 4th vacancy. So I took that as the calling. I applied, interviewed with them, and Governor Kate Brown appointed me to the bench. But I wasn't supposed to be a judge. In order to be a judge, you have to be a U.S. citizen. Only 2 judges who have ever served for Multnomah County have been naturalized U.S. citizens, not natural born. I'm an immigrant. I came to this country when I was 9 years old. My family fled El Salvador at the beginning of a 12-year civil war. My parents paid what's called a coyote, and a coyote helped us safely cross the border. We crossed the Tijuana River and ended up in Tijuana at a hotel. Then we later separated so that we could each enter in different vehicles. I was with the hired coyotes, and I was in a vehicle with them, and I was going to enter the country with them. I think I was meant to be like their daughter, like to make it look like I was their daughter. But the couple was a Caucasian couple. I remember because she had very long blonde hair, and I hadn't seen blonde hair before. So I sat in the back of the car, and then the couple drove up to the border check, and we were waved in. And that's how I entered the country. But going back to basics, in order to be a judge, you have to be a lawyer. And I wasn't supposed to be a lawyer. I was sent a letter by the Oregon State Bar asking me to apply for law school here because of the lack of diversity. This was 1999. And the bar said, "We really want to diversify the legal field. Think about Oregon." So I looked at the different law schools, and I applied to Lewis and Clark. Currently, less than 2% of Oregon lawyers are Hispanic. I have to tell you, when I arrived here, I felt a little misled because I stood out, and it was hard to find people that looked like me. I lived in Southwest Portland. At the time that I was leaving California, I had driven up in a U-Haul and had seen the beautiful Oregon coast as I was coming up. But again, I was looking for my community. I was looking for the people that looked like me, and I wasn't finding them in Oregon. The only time I did find them was when I would go to restaurants and they were working in the kitchen, which, when you're taking a late night break from law school and you're looking for fries, I got tons of fries from my people, so it was awesome. But again, in order for you to be a lawyer, you have to have a 4-year degree. And I dropped out of college. It was my second year, and I was really struggling financially. I had no familial support, and so I dropped out. I told my friends I was taking a break, a 3-year break. But I knew the reality was that things were really hard, and I didn't think that I was going to go back. And then I met this woman named Teresa Guerrero, and she helped me navigate my way back to Berkeley. But I wasn't supposed to go to college. Less than 3% of foster children attend and graduate a 4-year university. I did graduate from Berkeley. I went to college because I received a packet from UC Berkeley inviting me to apply to their engineering program. Apparently, somewhere along the way, I tested really high in math and science. Really, college was not something that I had really thought about much because at the time, I was really just hoping to graduate from high school. And I was moving around from home to home, and my biggest worry was, where was I going to live? So I had this packet and where I was going to live once I turned 18. So I had this packet, this application packet. I went to my high school counselor and I asked her to help me. And she said to me, and I will never forget what she said to me. It's been ingrained in my mind all these years. She said, I wouldn't get your hopes up because you're probably not going to get into Berkeley. I was 17 and I was really perplexed because I have this counselor telling me you're not going to get in probably, and yet I have Berkeley saying, come, join us. So I sent in the application anyway, and like I said, Berkeley admitted me. That advocate, that high school counselor was not my advocate. And you're going to have to find your advocates in your life. You're going to find that some people are not your advocates. I wasn't supposed to have an advocate. I was 13. I was testifying in a criminal trial where I was the victim of sex abuse. I'd been on the stand for a few hours, and the judge decided to take a break. He called the CASA's office, which stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate, and he asked for them to send someone in. So they did. I met her for a few minutes, and then court resumed. I was back on the stand. She held my hand, and there was no place for her to sit, so she just stood next to me. Her name's Jan Bryce, and she has held my hand since then. I finished my testimony of a few more hours. As a result of that case, I ended up in foster care. That's why I had so many different placements. And I eventually aged out when I was 18. You know how I told you that high school counselor was not my advocate? Jan Bryce is my advocate. She has been there for me and has imagined places for me I have never thought that I could go. She has been at my every graduation, high school, college, law school, my swearing-in ceremony. She's at my TED Talk. She has imagined these places for me and could see things for me, like I said, that I couldn't see. She could see me as a lawyer. She could see me as a judge. I want you to think about the places that you need to go, the places that you think you can't be at. Who are your advocates? And most importantly, who are you an advocate for? If you can't think of someone right away, then you're not where you're supposed to be. I want you to help us defy statistics. I want you to think about being someone's advocate, about being someone's Jan. We can all be advocates. I want you to think about the places you're not supposed to go, but you should go.